Hi guys, we started a new series at sportfogadás.org called Riskligaen. In this series, we try to show interesting things about the sports life, especially from Norway. We are Hungarians, so we try to compare everything to Hungary. Therefore, it will be a unique series. Our first topic is the refugee and immigrant integration in Norway. In my country, there isn't a program for them, and unfortunately, we are against accepting them. It is weird, because 60 years ago, tens of thousands of Hungarians became refugees and moved to Western Europe or to the USA. That's why it is an interesting topic for us, how they are handling the asylum seekers in Norway. After some research, I found the Vard-modell in Haugesund, where folks have a chance to interact with the Norwegian culture. This program was established by SK Vard Haugesund in 1995, and I spoke with Maid Memic, who is the leader of the project now. So Maid, can you give us a detailed picture of the program?
Basically, the motivation for the Vard-modell. What happened after that was that it may be trying out for Vard or something that we would say no, we don't have a program, we don't want them. But this was the first time we had, probably one of the first in the country where you had a specific desire and a specific plan on how to achieve integration through sports. So that was probably the difference, and I'm pretty sure that Vard Haugesund was one of the pioneers in thinking like this.
What is your role in the Vard-modell?
Task is pretty much to organize the whole thing, to oversee what children come into the region, what children are around, and whether or not they have a sort of activity after school or not. Because in the beginning phase, when a family comes to Norway, they typically have to go through governmental sections in order to get organized with the primary stuff like housing, like Norwegian language courses and all of that stuff. So once they've settled a little bit, they've gotten some structure into their new society, it is up to me to communicate with the different organizations in town, intergovernmental organizations that handle the refugees. It is up to me to have a running dialogue with them, to have a good connection and communication with them so that they can come to me and say, okay, we have, for example, 4 new young boys from Syria who are a little bit bored in their spare time and they don't have an activity to go to. Can you help them find something? So basically, I'm the one who has the direct connection with the organization, with the refugee camps, with the governmental organizations that help with the language programs and schools and etc.
Everything that's in life.
Yeah, so it's my responsibility first and foremost to keep that connection up, and then through me, I'm the one who can contact. For example, I can contact if Vard doesn't have a suitable team for one individual, I can contact another football team. If the kids don't want to play football, I can contact gymnastics or horse riding or whatever it may be. So my goal for the end of this year is to basically familiarize myself a little bit better with the persons who are in charge of each team so that we can have a running dialogue throughout the year instead of each team having its own connection with the government.
SK Vard Haugesund is a football club. What can you do if a refugee family is interested in the project but their child doesn't like football or wants to do something else?
Okay, so first of all, we try to find a level that's suitable for everyone. So in most cases, Vard Haugesund will have a first team, a second team, that kind of thing within their teams. So more often than not, we find a level that's suitable to the individual. But if not, Vard-modell was started as a football project primarily, but our goal today is not to necessarily force football upon a certain individual who doesn't necessarily have an interest or doesn't like playing football. So for us, it is pretty much the same what kind of interest this child or teen might have. For me, it's most important just to get them out in some sort of activity. So whether it be football or whether it be handball, basketball, swimming, that's, to me, as a leader, not important at all. So I try to have a good communication with the governmental organizations, who are my partners basically in this, and to have a good running dialogue with the families in terms of figuring out what does this child want to do.
What was the effect of the crisis in Syria on the Vard-modell?
As for the total amount of kids that have been involved this year, we are experiencing somewhat of a record year, basically, at least since I've been here. Normally we sort of calculate that we're going to have 8 new kids each year. By that I don't mean only eight children that I've been in contact with, or 8 families or whatnot, but what I mean by that is 8 kids who have come into the program and who have stayed, who have had a continuous dialogue with me, who we have followed up throughout the months, throughout the year maybe, and made sure that, okay, they have stably stayed within the system and they want to continue staying in the system. But this year, before the summer, we already had 11 new kids, and I'm already in the process of a good year for us, because, like you said, there are more refugees that are coming into the region, and we are experiencing that ourselves in how many kids have contacted us through our partner organizations that we work with.
Is it free to join the Vard-modell?
To begin with, most refugees, when they come to Norway, they don't have a job, they don't have a car, they don't have any means of achieving the sort of financial luxuries that one accumulates himself in the Norwegian society throughout the years by being a citizen. So we feel that in the start of a process, when a family first comes in contact with us and joins us, we think it's important that we make sure that they know that if they need help with the most necessary things in terms of participating in sports, that we cover most of those things. Of course, that comes through some of the funding, and we have specific financial posts that cover that part. But it is also important for us to make it clear to them that eventually, playing sports in a Norwegian society is something that costs money for Norwegians and for people who live in Norway. That's just a normal part of it, and this is something that takes time, that costs money, that takes follow-up in terms of driving kids to games and all of the things that sort of make sports participation what it is, so that they eventually can come to that level themselves when they get comfortable in the society, when they get the networks that they need, when they start working, when they get an apartment, when they get a house, and all of that. But for us, it is important that along the way, whatever needs the family might have, it is our job to sort of follow up on that and make sure that they have what they need. So to begin with, Vard is covering the most elementary costs that may arise from playing sports.
Okay, so it costs a lot of money. How can you get this income, which is enough to run the model?
Because in terms of SK Vard Haugesund as a club, if we were to fund everything ourselves, it would be an expense. Because this isn't something that Vard Haugesund gets any direct money from.
Yeah.
It's 100% an expense that we have to do. So we are 100% dependent upon having the regional government help us. They are a big part of our funding and have been each year. And also if certain other organizations have a big pot that they have to share. Often there are things that come up online, whether it be the Norwegian Football Federation or certain other federations that free up some money for teams and organizations who wish to work with integrations. So many teams and organizations in Norway can apply to this money, and based on obviously what kind of project you have, how planned it is, and how serious it is, that will how do I say this, determine how much money and how much funding you get. So that is another part of my responsibility. We have to always be on the lookout for these kind of things, where to apply, how much to apply for, in order for that to be in check with our own budget and our own expectations for a given year.
We talked about foreign kids. What about the adults?
But another part of our project is helping adult males, adult women, and teenagers also get integrated in whatever way we can. And one of the projects that we have for that is that we have something that's called an open field project, which is every Saturday from 6 to 8. We have our indoor facilities open to an immigrant group that's been living here in Haugesund, whether they lived here for 10 years or whether they've lived here for 2 weeks. It's open to anybody who's from that background, who has that history per se, or anybody who has a connection with that kind of thing. It's essentially open to anyone, where we pay the facility expenses that may arise, the electricity and whatnot. And they basically have their own key, and they can come and organize themselves and play football in safe conditions in our indoor facilities every week.
So we can say Vard-modell is not just for the kids.
No,
it is for all of the immigrants who arrive in Norway.
Exactly, and this is just a way for us to get acquainted with them, introduced to them, and through there we can also pick up some families that might have kids. So I try to keep some communication going with them as well. Okay, if there are 40 players, 40 adults who come to training on that Saturday, if I'm there, tell them, okay, if anybody of you has kids who wants to start playing, like, give me my call. They all have my information. They have their own Facebook group that they've organized themselves, where we have over 120 active members. Obviously not 120 show up to each training. That would be way too many to organize a game of football for that many people. But typically we see that 30 or 40 players come each week.
Of course, this program can't solve all the problems with the migration crisis, but you can see it is a good initiative, and we need more like this, because it is important to give a chance to foreigners to know about our culture. It doesn't matter if this program is running in Norway or somewhere else. The idea is more relevant because football is a universal language and can help us in different ways.